Situated on the eastern coast of Ulthuan are Yvresse, led by Prince Eltharion, famed for his exploits with the Greenskins. This sees Eltharion directing his attention to the Greenskins in the south, giving High Elf players a welcome break from Dark Elves with the most in-depth mechanics and largest roster of any High Elf faction. Welcome to Elven Plot Armor, and this is the Campaign Mastery Guide and rating for Yvresse. In this guide, we will assess the faction across 5 criteria, award a 5-star rating, and then total them for an overall score. This guide is made in tandem with community feedback and additional playtesting to provide a balanced perspective. Starting with strategy, and that is the campaign map abilities and control over the grand campaign. High Elves enjoy great building lines with easy access to key units, and their influence allows them great control throughout the campaign, so they're going to place well here. Now, adding in faction specifics, Yvresse get the Mistwalker building line, which allows local recruitment and increases the cap of Yvresse's exclusive units. We'll go through the Mistwalker units in more detail under military, but it's worth noting here that you don't need this building to recruit them, as you can recruit them like you would any regiment renowned, which as you can guess is very useful when you have 2 kingdoms on the opposite sides of the ocean, and can instantly fix your issues by raising a stack of elite soldiers. So while this building isn't useless, you shouldn't prioritize it over mage towers and other buildings that increase your unit cap for heroes. I managed to complete my last campaign without building a single one of these buildings, and was never short of Mistwalker units to raise. We can't move on without talking about the Warden's Cage ability. This allows you to pin an enemy lord or character in place, diminish their defensive stats, and if you kill them within 20 seconds, they are captured and sent to your dungeons. In the old editions, this could only be done mid-battle, but now they've changed it so you can do it while the enemy are routing, like you would in a real battle. This will send said lord into the prisons of Athel Tamara, where they will stay until you choose to release them. So if you're sick of fighting Malekith every few turns, you can simply imprison him and see how they cope without their most powerful general at hand. But the more popular use for this mechanic is to execute them and power level Eltharion for the experience, as well as get valuable Warden supplies to upgrade the dungeon. A level 2 interrogation chamber is a difficult first upgrade to turn down, as this increases the experience per captured lord by interrogating them and then subsequently executing them the same turn. Other strong contenders are free early influence and then Mistwalker stats before increasing the caps of the Mistwalker units themselves. A final and often forgotten buff of the Yvresse faction is the epithets. Once sufficiently leveled, a hero or lord can choose of 4 available epithets, which you can obviously tell which is designed for which type. The bonuses are nice and it's a great addition. Finally, the Mists of Yvresse. This token ability isn't particularly useful in Mortal Empires and is largely forgotten, as it's cool but very situational. Now to address the faction leader, who also contributes greatly to the strategy score. Eltharion is immune to barren wasteland attrition, which is actually crucial, and he doesn't need a ride or need to stagger around in encamp stance to conquer the Greenskins. He also gives +8 leadership and melee defense to all spear infantry, which are some of the High Elves' best units, so this works nicely with Yvresse's native +3 recruitment rank to any spear infantry. While Eltharion doesn't really manipulate the campaign map that much, Warden does allow him to construct any tier 3 province up to 4 walls within 3 turns. There are 2 reasons why Eltharion is one of the easiest lords in the game to level up. Well, first, you can ignore the entire red tree. Because you'll be building your army mostly out of Mistwalker units, you can ignore this. The second reason he's easy is because you can't access his high level spells until you have the Talisman of Hoeth, meaning it's an absolute no-brainer to go for Route Marcher and then get Lightning Strike as soon as possible. Following this, you can level up his low level spells, making sure that you do put 2 points in Hand of Glory. The reason is this combines with the Talisman of Hoeth to be able to do an overcast Hand of Glory for only 2 winds of magic, and this is devastating when combined with your Sentinels, whose rate of fire is the only weakness. Eltharion's personal level 12 tree is excellent. This allows him to get break upon the walls, which literally means you have 10 extra armor for shielded units, which he has a lot of, and unlimited ammo for your archers. Warden allows you to rapidly raise walls. A World Asunder I usually give a miss, but Unyielding March is excellent for more movement and campaign reductions. Most importantly, Grim Discipline will again increase your basic line-holding infantry by replacing Martial Prowess, which was already pretty damn good. Of course, always put 2 points in upgrading the Mistwalker units, and always put him on Stormwing. This is an excellent mount and synergizes just great with him being a caster warrior, providing the perfect mix of nimble movement to avoid damage but being able to still deliver a meaty charge. Once you have the Talisman of Hoeth, be sure to get Fiery Convocation and work your way to Arcane Conduit, and then spend your remaining points increasing his melee ability to make him an absolute cycle charging demon. Finally, for his rights, which are pretty good. He has Invocation of Assyrian and Invocation of Vol, which help provide civil buffs as well as siege attacker respectively. His unique ones are the Invocation of Hoeth, same as Tyrion, which is awesome for power leveling mages and lawmasters, and his Invocation of Ladriel helps buff his Mist, which again is situational. For strategy score, Eltharion's faction gets 4.5 stars. Next, we have Geography, which assesses the faction's starting location and the navigation of its surrounds. Yvresse has a unique starting scenario in that it begins with presence in 2 separate provinces. So let's start with the home province of Yvresse. It's a 4-settlement province, which is great, only a single resource there, but it has a unique building as well that doesn't really offer much. But regardless, you have a 4-settlement province on the safest edge of Ulthuan, and that is going to score well here. If the Badlands don't work out for you, you can always disband Eltharion and return here. Whichever way you play, you can easily have this entire province united by turn 7, and it's so tucked away safely, you can just leave it here as a tax farm while you expand down south. Check out the guide in the description on how to secure both the Badlands and Yvresse by turn 7. Just make sure you trade out your Beast Mage for a Fire Mage and you should have no trouble getting this province under your control. Now, speaking of the Badlands, if you followed my guide, you're guaranteed the capital by turn 2, which provides an extra noble and 1000 gold there courtesy of the Oath Gold Mine. Now, some players are staunchly against trying to settle here, and I understand, because if you make a single mistake in the first 3 turns, it quickly becomes a headache, but once you secure this capital, you can expand north and take out Wurzag's 4-settlement province as your main base of operations, and then you are set for the game. Don't get me wrong, if you abandon the Badlands, you can still have a solid campaign, but you'll never be as strong as you could be because you'll lose turns disbanding Eltharion and not fighting due to being isolated on the east side with no gates to cut through. This means you're forced to the choice of either foregoing combat experience or attacking High Elf provinces, which will de-level them, whereas instead you could just confederate them and get them at a higher level. Both ways are perfectly acceptable ways of playing, but abandoning the Badlands I call the Diet-Tyrion campaign. It certainly works well in strong late game, but you're essentially wasting the first few turns of the game, as well as very strong lord traits that Eltharion can gain from beating the greenskin lords. Just remember, if things don't work out for you down south, you can always retreat back and essentially play a very Eltharion-esque campaign, although it is advised at least apply some attention to the Dark Elves if you do go here. Either way, by the time Morathi arrives in Ulthuan, you should have enough money to spare an extra army to help curtail her. Although complicated, Eltharion's geography has a lot of opportunity and he scores 4.25 stars here. Next up we have the Diplomacy rating, which rates how hostile the start is, offset by friendly opportunities and the faction's ability to control these engagements. Although having all of the native abilities a High Elf has in Diplomacy, there's nothing quite unique to Eltharion or his faction. That being said, he is in Ulthuan and can quite simply use gifts and influence to be able to get quick confederations, starting with Safari or Avalon, making his way to Calador to go and save Imric. There are various methods to try and rush confederate Tyrion, but I honestly don't recommend them, specifically if you decide to maintain the south and you really don't want to be spending too much on gifts in the first 10 turns. Yvresse's campaign is one of the only ones I would actually recommend staying defensive allies with Tyrion for an extended amount of time. Simply focus on the south, and when Morathi does come to visit, raise Imric with a stack to go and support and just push her off the island. Just make sure that you manage to stay in front of Tyrion in terms of confederations, even going as far to use influence to sabotage his friendly relations with other elves so you can snag all of them up, and eventually your overwhelming balance of power and he'll be yours in due time. Tyrion actually makes an excellent ally here. He will hold the borders and defeat the Dark Elves, meaning that your turns won't take 10 years because you don't have to do 2 lots of battles. In my last campaign, I won the short victory by turn 95 and then confederated Tyrion about turn 97. That being said, if his army gets destroyed and he's there for the taking, snag him up, it's too good to say no to. Now in the Badlands, the misconception that these lands are hard to hold comes down to the way the game encourages you to play. First of all, you are going to take Galbaraz, and this won't be a point of expansion, this will be your border. You now have Malagor kicking around here and he will destroy these guys for you. You can opt to try and take this territory, but either way you have Bretonnia and Tomb Kings here to make excellent allies with, so that will secure this flank. Across here, border princes can be quite easily pleased with some gifts and influence. Don't go immediately to the west. These Marshes of Madness are terrible. They have terrible ground, you can't walk across them quickly quickly, you are going to get outmaneuvered and are asking to lose an unfavorable engagement versus the greenskins. Leave these vampires here. They might even offer you non-aggression, but do not attack them. This is a great buffer here. So we've got buffers here, friends here, friends here. So therefore we are now free to take the Western Badlands, and this will become your primary base of operations in the Badlands. From here you can quite easily expand to the east, and then we can take out Broken Axe. Make sure the dwarves win the engagements with the greenskins, and of course do not let the greenskins at Skaven ally, because that will make hell for you. Eltharion's diplomacy, just like everything else, is technical and complicated, but he's got the opportunities to make it work, and he gets 4.25 stars. Next we have the military rating, which assesses the faction's effectiveness on the battlefield throughout the entire campaign. I'm just going to start here with another item which I feel is overlooked, which is the Warden's Cage's effectiveness on the battlefield. This ability pins an enemy lord in place for 20 seconds, allowing your archers to absolutely shred them to death. Immobilizing a character for 20 seconds, let alone destroying them, is very powerful, needless to say. Yvresse have access to the entire High Elf roster, so they're not really stuck for choice, because the High Elf roster is very flexible as is, and it's going to score well here. In terms of Eltharion, he's mostly going to be packing his army full of Mistwalkers because he can boost them by 20%. I will note here that I do recommend keeping some Mistwalkers up your sleeve so you can drop them if there's ever a crisis. There is nothing more amusing than seeing Skaven appear in your backyard one turn, only to have a lord raised with elite infantry shoot them to pieces the next turn. And for this reason I recommend having some Mistwalkers up your sleeve for defense, and then disbanding them like you would regiments of renown once you're finished with them. Now the Mistwalker units themselves, just to quickly summarize them, the Skyhawk is an unshielded hybrid infantry with a respectable range and can deal anti-infantry damage greater than any other High Elf unit. Atheltamara Faithbearers finally give the High Elves a decent sword-wielding infantry, and Spire Guard are essentially roided up Lothan Seaguard. The Sentinels of Astarul are their devastating ranged unit with an epic 215 range, which lowers the block chance of any shielded infantry. In Eltharion's army, with a 2-cost Winds of Glory, this unit is devastating and stands next to Alariel's sister stack as the premier archer army. Finally, the Knights of Tul Gaval serve as a devastating anti-air, cycle-charging powerhouse that perfectly rounds out the Yvresse roster. As your starting lord, Eltharion starts with a healing spell which absolutely cannot be overlooked, because this means your characters will never die. He serves as an excellent hybrid caster fighter and scales very well into the late game. His personal buffs will give you an impenetrable front line of spears and shields, backed with your mighty sentinel archers, and feel free to throw in some Knights of Tul Gaval, a bit of magic and other characters, and you have a stack that's probably going to do you very well into the end game. Just to make sure we're being balanced and discuss the cons, these units are very expensive and you certainly can't doomstack too early. In terms of unique items, Eltharion has 3. He has the Helm of Yvresse and his Fang Sword to help tune his stats into being a great anti-infantry cycle charger on his Griffin. Available at level 7 and level 10 respectively, they require Eltharion to own 2 provinces and win 3 greenskin battles, which is unavoidable if you stay in the south. His quest item is the Talisman of Hoeth, which requires you to simply recruit war lines into any army. This battle is easiest with a fire mage, and I'm demonstrating with a mixed army here to show it's not too difficult. When the battle starts, just make sure you move your army to the right and put their backs against the right flank, meaning that they can take the enemy out in the bottleneck and they'll be facing the correct way for the incoming reinforcements. In conclusion, being able to summon robust units that can be summoned out of thin air that perform so dominantly in the early game, as well as a strong healer leader, puts Eltharion's faction with 4.75 stars for military. Finally, we have the economic rating, which assesses the faction's ability to prosper as well as cover its costs. Despite not having too many early tradables, it is a high elf economy and can comfortably balance multiple armies thanks to the Oath Gold Mine in Galbaraz. Being able to quickly unite to Yvresse by turn 8 means you have an effective tax haven to be able to fund your exploits down south. Battling down south will also generate far more combat revenue from your exploits, and also means you're leaving the High Elves alone up north, so you'll be able to confederate their territories at tier 3 and tier 4 rather than destroying them in the process. This provides Eltharion with an economy that quickly picks up pace and will not leave him short for money at all. See the High Elf Race Mastery Guide on all the ways the High Elves can make money, but of course Eltharion has access to all of these as well as a couple of other exploits. Please see the Spiffing Brits video on this. But while hilarious, this is completely unnecessary. For economy, he gets 4.5 stars. Now for the overall assessment. Yvresse have been by far the hardest faction to assess. While possessing some of the most powerful tools, they are far from an auto-win faction requiring more finesse than any other High Elf faction. While far more technical to manage, I see Eltharion's faction as the Dark Horse, the smart man's High Elf faction, boasting uncomparable military and unconventional tactics to arrive at a devastating 89%. And that's it for this guide. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider giving the channel a like or subscribe. This is Elven Plot Armor. Cheers for watching.